Those words weren't screamed by a villain in a movie. They were spit at a 68-year-old woman, a mother, a grandmother, in her own living room, on her own sofa, by the daughter-in-law she'd welcomed as a daughter, and her son, her only child, just stood there. He didn't defend her. He didn't even look at her. In that moment of crushing silence, Margaret realized the family she'd built her entire life around had decided she was disposable. Just an old piece of furniture to be shoved into a corner. But what they didn't know, what they arrogantly, foolishly assumed, was that this old hag still held the keys to everything. Literally. This is the story of a quiet woman who had finally been pushed too far, and the beautifully calculated, legally perfect revenge that followed. My name is Margaret. For 43 years I defined myself by one title: a mother. Specifically, a widow raising a son alone. My husband, Thomas, died in a factory accident when Michael was only 4. The world went gray. But you don't get to fall apart when you have a little boy who still needs to believe in heroes. So I became two people. By night, Margaret the office cleaner, moving through silent corporate hallways with a mop and bucket, the fluorescent lights humming a lonely song. By day, Margaret the seamstress, my fingers pricked and raw, turning scraps into school clothes, mending tears in superhero costumes. Every ache in my back, every late hour, every skipped meal, it all had a name. Michael's future. It was a sacred deposit into a bank of hope. The life I never had would be his. And he was my joy. My brilliant boy. When he got into college, I wept for a week. When he graduated, my heart was so full I thought it would burst. And when he brought home Lena, well, I saw the way he looked at her. With that same dazzled love his father once had for me. How could I not welcome her? She was sharp, ambitious, beautiful. I thought, he's found his partner. Our family is growing. I gave them the master bedroom in my small, paid-off house. You newlyweds need space, I said. I moved into the smaller room, happy just to hear their laughter. The down payment for this house, the big one with the garden Michael said was perfect for kids, came from cashing out my life savings, my pension, and the sale of the home Thomas and I had shared. The mortgage was in my name, my credit, my risk, my final offering. But it was our family home. I cooked their favorite meals. I rocked my grandsons, James and Leo, to sleep singing the same lullabies I'd sung to Michael. I was grandma, the foundation, the glue. But slowly, so slowly you could miss it if you weren't paying attention, the climate changed. The thank yous became shorter, then absent. Then my name changed. From Margaret to nothing. Just orders. It started with small erasures. Don't touch that, it's delicate. My favorite armchair, the one Thomas had given me, was donated to make room for a modern, uncomfortable chaise. My place at the head of the dining table, the table I bought, was suddenly in the way of the flow. I was shuffled to the side. Then one day I came home to find my clothes, my photo albums, my small treasures, all boxed up and moved to a storage area in the basement. Lena said it was to declutter. My room was no longer my room. It was the guest room that I happened to occupy. And Michael, my son, my Michael. Mom, please don't make a big deal out of it. It's just a chair. Just adjust. We all have to adjust. Lena's under a lot of stress. Just keep the peace. Adjust. That was his word. Adjust to being a ghost in your own home. Adjust to being silenced. Adjust to being erased, piece by piece, memory by possession. I adjusted so much I barely recognized my own reflection. I was a silent, shrinking woman in a house filled with my own history, watching my son become a stranger, a man who chose peace with his wife over respect for his mother. The breaking point wasn't a grand drama. It was something small and sacred. On the mantel, next to a sleek, impersonal vase, I kept a simple wooden frame. A photo of Thomas, young and smiling, holding a toddler Michael on his shoulders. One Tuesday, it was gone. I found it later that day in the kitchen trash bin, under coffee grounds and eggshells. The glass was cracked. My hands trembled as I pulled it out, wiping the smudge off Thomas's face. I found Lena in the living room, scrolling on her phone. Lena, why was Thomas's photo in the trash? She didn't even look up. It was cluttering the mantel. That frame was hideously dated. It was my husband. It was Michael's father. That's when she looked at me. And I saw it. Not annoyance, not impatience. It was pure, unadulterated contempt. She put her phone down slowly and stood up. Michael was in the doorway, holding a laundry basket. 8-year-old James was playing on the floor, his little body going very still. It's my mantle in my living room. I decide what's on it. You don't get to question me. You live here out of our generosity. Our generosity? With my pension? With my credit? I opened my mouth, a polite correction on my lips. Lena, this house is... And she snapped. Her face, once so pretty, twisted into something ugly and savage. She took 2 steps forward, her finger jabbing the air an inch from my face, and she screamed it. Shut up, you old hag. Remember tonight. Talk back again and you'll sleep in the trash. Do you understand me? Nothing. You are nothing here. The air was sucked from the room. I felt a physical jolt as if I'd been slapped. My heart wasn't beating, it was fluttering, a trapped bird against my ribs. I looked at James. His small head was bowed, tears dripping silently onto his Lego. I looked at my son. Michael. He stood frozen, the laundry basket hanging from his limp hands. His eyes were wide and then they dropped. They fixed on a spot on the carpet. He stared at that spot as if it held the secrets of the universe. He didn't move. He didn't speak. He just witnessed. And then Lena, she laughed. A short, brittle, victorious sound. Who do you think you are? This isn't your house anymore. In that moment, something didn't just break inside me. It shattered, but not into pieces of sadness. It shattered into a cold, crystalline clarity. The illusion evaporated. This wasn't my family. I wasn't a beloved matriarch. I was a tenant, a nuisance, a hag. I didn't cry. I didn't shout. I didn't even look at Lena again. I simply turned, walked to my small, relegated room at the back of the house and locked the door. The sound of the bolts sliding home was the loudest sound I'd ever heard. That night, in the dark, I didn't weep for the insult. I wept for the truth it revealed. They weren't waiting for me to leave. To become so small, I simply faded away, leaving them with the house, the life, the everything I had built. They were waiting for me to disappear, but as I sat there in the dark, my hand reached under the bed. My fingers brushed against a small, fireproof lockbox, and I remembered. Years ago, when we signed the mountain of papers for this house, my lawyer, Frank, an old friend of Thomas's, had pulled me aside. His face was serious. Maggie, this is a big gift you're giving. Protect yourself. The deed stays in your name only. No joint ownership, and keep this paperwork safe. It's your shield. Hope you never need it. I had hoped I'd never need it too. I'd imagined showing it to my grandchildren one day as a lesson in hard work, not as a weapon. But as Lena's words echoed in the silent dark, sleep in the trash, the box under my bed no longer felt like a shield. It felt like a key. The next morning I moved through the house like the ghost they already thought I was. I made coffee. I didn't speak. Lena shot me looks of smug triumph. Michael avoided my eyes, a deep shame making his shoulders slump. He tried to mutter a "Good morning, Mom." I said nothing. The time for words was over. I went for a walk. I drove to a payphone. I didn't want any records on my cell plan. I called Frank. Frank, it's Maddie Collins. But they've gone too far. I need you to do what we discussed, and I need you to come to the house, unannounced. 2 days later, a crisp Tuesday afternoon, the doorbell rang. Lena answered, a smile on her face that died the moment she saw Frank in his sober suit, holding a leather folio. I stood at the top of the stairs, watching. Can I help you? I'm here to see Mrs. Margaret Collins, regarding the property at this address. They all gathered in the living room, the same spot where the screaming had happened. Lena perched on the edge of my sofa. Michael stood nervously. I took a seat in a side chair, my back straight. Mom, what's this about? I nodded to Frank. He opened his folio. I am here in my capacity as legal counsel for Mrs. Margaret Collins, sole and titled owner of the property at 42 Maple Drive. This meeting is to clarify the legal occupancy status. Lena snorted. Owner, we all live here. It's our house. Frank didn't blink. He slid a copy of the deed across the coffee table. My name was the only one under grantee. The mortgage is also solely in Mrs. Collins' name. You and your husband, Mr. Collins, are not co-signers. You are legal tenants at will residing here at the owner's discretion. The color drained from Lena's face, leaving 2 stark spots of blush on her cheeks. Michael's mouth hung open. Mom, what is this? This is crazy. I looked at him then. Really looked at him. My little boy, now a man who had let his wife threaten his mother with the trash. But there was no anger in my heart. Just a profound, oceanic sadness. This, Michael, is what happens when you forget who built the ground you stand on. When you let someone disrespect the woman who worked 2 jobs to put you there. This is the consequence of telling me to adjust to being erased. I turned to Frank. Please proceed. As the sole owner, Mrs. Collins has the right to revoke permission for any non-owner to occupy the premises. She's exercising that right. You have 30 days to vacate the property. This is your formal notice. And then the dam broke. Vacate? This is our home. You can't do this, you bitter, evil old woman. Michael, say something. Michael was pale, trembling. Mom, you can't. The kids, where will we go? This is our home. And I was your mother, and you chose to forget that. I stood up. I felt a power I hadn't felt in years. Not the power of rage, but the power of absolute, unassailable right. You have 30 days. I suggest you start packing. You may stay in your room until then, but you will not speak to me disrespectfully again. You will not touch my belongings. This is my house, and I am reclaiming it. The next few weeks were a symphony of beautiful, bitter silence. Lena's screams turned to sobs, then to frantic pleading. Margaret, please, I didn't mean it. We're family. She blamed Michael. Their arguments echoed through the halls. He begged me, tears in his eyes. Mom, I'm so sorry. She was wrong. I was wrong. Please don't do this to your grandchildren. That was the hardest moment. James's little face, confused and scared, but I knew in my soul staying in this toxic dynamic was worse for them. I would be in their lives, but not on these terms, not as a doormat. You will find a place. You will be fine. You have jobs. You have each other. You just won't have my life savings to fund it anymore. That privilege has been revoked. On moving day, I sat in my reclaimed armchair. I'd had it brought back from storage and watched them go. The chaise, the impersonal art, Lena's cold modern decorations all loaded into a rental truck. Lena wouldn't look at me. Michael, carrying a box, paused at the door. His eyes were red-rimmed. I'm sorry, Mom. I simply nodded. Words were still too heavy. The door closed, the lock turned, and the most profound quiet I had ever heard settled over 42 Maple Drive. It wasn't empty, it was peaceful. Today the sun streams through the windows of a clean, quiet house. My photos are back on the mantel. Thomas smiles at me from his frame, the crack in the glass now repaired. My chair is by the fireplace. My room is my sanctuary. The silence is no longer a punishment. It's a melody of my own making. Do I still love my son? A mother's love is a stubborn river. It doesn't dry up easily. But I've learned a painful lesson. Love without respect is just pain in disguise. It's a cage. I had to choose my dignity over a dysfunctional version of family. So, if anyone ever tells you that age makes you weak, that kindness is a flaw to be exploited, remember Margaret. Remember that the quietest people in the room are often the ones who have survived the most. And sometimes they are the ones quietly holding all the power, waiting for the right moment to remind the world that they're not, and never will be, trash. If this story of silent strength and ultimate justice resonated with you, if it gave you that cold, satisfying chill of karma served exactly as it should be, then do me a favor, smash that like button. Let me know in the comments what's the most satisfying, quiet revenge you've ever witnessed or experienced. And of course, if you believe that respect is non-negotiable no matter your age or relationship, subscribe and hit the notification bell, because we have so many more stories of betrayal, resilience, and the beautiful, intricate ways people reclaim their power. Thanks for listening. Remember, your silence is your strategy. Your patience is your power. Until next time.